And then this will be the replay that we send out for everyone. So I'm just going to get started since it's 11 o'clock. I may have people coming in as we go. Welcome to Thought Salon. This week, we're going to talk about looking forward, looking back. Let's do a quarterly review. So thank you for muting yourself during this first part. And thank you for being here. We'll be adding people as they come in for just a minute. Hello, Kelly. Kelly is an old friend, and I haven't seen Kelly for a long time. So it's cool to have this opportunity to do these group coaching events where people can come and go and just watch the replays. Thank you for joining us. So first I'm going to start with this short training, and then we'll open it up and we'll have group coaching and discussion. So thank you for joining us. First, for some of you who don't know me as well as others, I will go through just kind of what this Thought Salon is. First, please bring an open mind, bring your journal, bring a pen, and keep note or keep a mental note of your questions that might come up for group coaching, which will be at the end. And then on this session particularly, because it is about a process of a quarterly review, I do have some worksheets for you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this link, which is on my website. I'm going to put that in the chat for you. You don't have to print that out now, but this is the page. These are the pages that are on the website that show the worksheets that we're going to go over today. So, first, how to watch this session. The first time going through this session, which is being recorded, take notes, go ahead and, enjoy it. Just stay with me throughout the process and just think about yourself, about your business, your career, what you're trying to do with your goals as we go, and just kind of take it in. And then also later on, you can print those worksheets out. You could print them out now as we go if you want, but they will be there for you. And then as you do your own process, maybe in a little bit more in depth, you can watch this again, watch it, stop and start it if you need to do your own quarterly review and think about that process. So, all right. So thank you. Let's see, next slide. I'm gonna just introduce myself briefly for those who don't know me as well. I'm Shannon Borg. I'm a former writer in wine, food, and travel for Seattle Magazine and other publications. I've written a couple of books. I've also written a book of poetry. And then I became an artist, and I really focused on art after that long career as a writer. And now I'm really focusing on art and business coaching. I'm a certified life coach, and also I design websites. And that is all kind of wrapped up into my program, which is the Metaphor Mindset Studio, which some of you have been a part of, which is one-on-one coaching. It's a 5-step process, which I've built up over time. And now I also have the Art Business Circle community. And if you're not a member of that, that is a part of what I do, a part of your coaching, and it's growing. Now we have 13 members. I'm so excited. So we'll start to have more like sharing with each other in there. It's a fun way to get to know other artists and share what you're doing, and to practice that process of reaching out and making offers and learning how to do that, putting your blog posts up, talking about your newsletter, talking about your art, promoting yourself in that way, and just getting to know other artists. Okay, so today we're going to do a quarterly review. So a little bit of a review at first, and this is the 4 hats of artisan business process. So as some of you have taken this 4 hats class, What it does is separates your business into 4 parts, and those parts are the creator hat, that well, the chef's hat or the, fun little beret that you're wearing as an artist in doing your art. Then the leader hat is the top hat, and that's the mayor that cuts the ribbon at the new opening of a new business. The leader is the one that has a vision for your business, who sets the goals, who has a bigger picture of what's going on here. The operator hat is the hard hat. This is the nuts and bolts. This is the finances and the systems that your business or your career or however you're working has to have to make sales or to make a plan for how you're going to create a show or an exhibition or a newsletter or whatever you're doing. And then the promoter hat, again, is the attraction, the idea of like, how are we going to get people to learn about us and to build relationships? Each one of these hats are sort of like a foundational operation of making your art and making those systems, and then moving those systems into the future where the leader and the promoter can take it out into the world. Also from the inner work of the leader and the creator, which are really looking at yourself, what you want to do with your vision and with your art, and then taking that outwards into the world by selling your art and promoting your art. Okay, so as a review, the creator's job is to ideate, to master your skills, to make things, and of course, to protect your time, protect your space, and nurture yourself. The reason I'm going to go over each one of these steps is because the quarterly review is all about looking at all of these and sort of assessing where you are and how well you're doing in each area. So the leader's job is to envision what you want. And sometimes that's the hardest part. I was just coaching someone the other day who didn't realize they had a vision. And we think, oh, I don't know what I want to do. But when it comes down to it, we actually really know. Asking yourself, what is the clarity of what I actually want? Often, we haven't been given this quote unquote permission in our society, in your family, in your community to actually do what you want to do. And when you really tap into that, it becomes very clear. And it becomes easier to prioritize what you want to do, then to find out ways, strategize, figure out what you want, strategize ways to do that, and then of course communicate that to yourself, to the world, to the other hats. Then after you've done things, to assess what you did and to realign and say, okay, how did that work? What didn't work? And what am I going to do next? The operator's job is to communicate with all the other hats about the systems, right? To define boundaries, to say, no, I'm not going to sell, pillows and cards on Etsy. I'm only going to sell my fine art work. Or the opposite. I'm going to really focus on this licensing or craft building business where I'm going to sell these products. So these are the type of jobs that the operator has to really define those boundaries that respond to the vision that the leader has given you. All right. And then, of course, a budget to create very simple systems and a simple budget, a simple way of tracking things for yourself. That may be a piece of paper and a pen. It may be a simple spreadsheet. It may be QuickBooks. It may be Artwork Archives, which is a great online program for keeping track of your art. That's one I have used. And then measuring things, looking back on what did we do last year or last quarter, and how can I see the difference between that and where I am now? Did I go up? Did I go down? Did I sell more? Did I sell less? Measuring a few things. I started the year with 10 Instagram followers and now I have 50, those kinds of things. I like to use simple spreadsheets to do that, or simple, just simple tracking for myself. And then also how to troubleshoot, what to do next, what worked, what didn't work. Then the promoter's job. The promoter's job is to listen to the leader and the creator, to listen to yourself and to really realize, like, am I giving this message from my vision out there into the world that I want to hear, that I want to give? I'm mining that gold mine for messaging for what I'm going to talk to people about. And this can go out in your Instagram or your Facebook or your newsletter. And I'm taking examples of some people here. For instance, Lauren has this fabulous newsletter. He talks about being an introvert and going to an art opening. That is mining for messaging, right? He's what may have been he considered to be like, oh, this is a problem of being an introvert. I don't like to go and talk to people. But now he's using that thought process as part of his messaging, as his identity as an artist and how to deal with these things. So I'd love to get your thoughts about this later today, Lauren. And then that helps us, those messages help us build relationships with people out there in the world and share what we're going through, share our art, share our humor, share our message, share our vision, and teach people and teach those people that we want to, approach our work or how to understand our work. If you're talking about climate change, right, you want to be able to help people understand your work better if you have some kind of message like that. Okay, and then here we are at this worksheet for the 4 hats. Okay, so now as far as working through this today, I'm not going to go through every single one because you can do this later. Like I said, you can print this out for yourself later. But I will go over the creator briefly because I think we all kind of have a sense of that. And then I'm going to go over each sheet in sort of simple ways, and we can talk about it at the end. Okay, so this is the process. First, on the creator sheet, you have all of those jobs of the creator: ideate, mastery, making, protecting your space, protecting your time, and nurturing yourself. So in the first column, you're going to say, what are my current tools and methods of doing this? How am I doing this? So for instance, protecting my space and time. Do I have a space to work? Is it clean? Is it organized? Is it usable? And protecting my time. Do I schedule time for myself to work? Or do I just kind of let it happen whenever? And maybe that works for you, but you just want to assess, is it working for you? Okay. Am I protecting my space? Is it getting really messy? Or do I try to keep it kind of the wheels on the cart and keep it orderly? How am I doing? So right now, I'm going to give you a minute. Okay. I'm going to put a timer on it. And I kind of want you to put down a sort of a scale of 1 to 10, how you're doing on each of these categories. So, what is your current method? How is it working? And a number. How are you doing from 1 to 10 on ideation? Meaning, are you doing a lot of a lot of work on ideas? And how are you doing on that? And a number. Mastery, are you working on your skills? How are your skills? And a number on that. Protecting your space, protecting your time, and nurturing yourself. So a minute may not be enough, but I'm going to set a minute, try to go through it quickly, and then we will see how that works. So I will be quiet now for a minute and let you write that down. Okay. So now you have kind of a number, and maybe you have a little idea of what you've been doing so far. You may have numbers all over the scale. You may have, great ideas. And this is sort of classic. You have a lot of ideas, you have great ideas, you go down rabbit holes, you're maybe like studying some new topic that you're really interested in, or some new technique or something like that. But you go down the list and protecting your space, the studio's a mess, or you working on your kitchen table, or like you can't get to the studio often enough. That's a sort of protecting your time thing. See how these kind of meld into one another. Or you're not sleeping, or you're not eating well, or you're not getting enough exercise. It seems when you look at all of these things, there's lots of things to do. But when you really look at them in a broad way and don't worry about like all the little things, you can sort of make a broad stroke and say, okay, how am I nurturing myself? That's like a 5 right now, or that's a 6, or that's a 9. Okay, so that number kind of helps you get that basic general idea. Now, I'm going to let you have another minute and fill out these next 2 columns just where you can. You may not fill everything out, but for instance, if your lowest number is protecting your time, then I would suggest going with your lowest number or 2 numbers, filling out, what is not working or what is working, and then what are you going to do more of, or what are you going to do less of next quarter, this next quarter. Okay, so I will give you that time now to sort of, you can jot this down on your own piece of paper. You don't have to have this printed out. You could do this later on your own. 1 minute. Okay, so this is the basic idea. And you just go through each one of these concepts and jobs of each one of the hats. So I'm going to go to the leader next, the leader hat, and we can look at this. So as you then make your way through it, I would like you to think about each one of these areas. Now, it may seem like a lot. It may seem like, oh my gosh, I have to like get all of these areas dealt with and think about all of them. And there's so many words on this page. Okay. But what I really think that I want you to take from this webinar and this run through is that it's actually only 4 pieces of paper with a few boxes on them, and that you can give a general sort of number to each one of them. It gives you a way to sort of fill it in as the quarter is going on. You could set aside 2 hours to do the whole process, or you could just do it kind of as you go through the whole quarter as well. Okay, the leader hat has the idea of envisioning and making that plan, or working on your values. Like, what do you actually want to do? How solid is that? If it's not doesn't, if it's not super solid, you may jot down 3 ideas that you really feel are important for you in your vision as you go forward. What's the purpose of your work? What are you trying to accomplish with your work? All right. Prioritizing and strategizing. Do you have a plan for the next year? Do you some people love to plan. They're planners and they're thinking, okay, this year I have a financial goal, or next year I want to travel. How am I going to reverse engineer that and say, next year, if I travel, I have to save this much money. Okay, I have a year to do it. How much am I going to have to save every month in order to do that? And then the next one, communication. What type of systems are you using now? Maybe it's just Apple Pay. Maybe it's just a piece of paper and jotting down your budget as you go and your sales. Maybe it's an Excel spreadsheet. What systems are you using? How do you feel about those systems? Do they work for you, or is it just like too hard? Do you need to take another, do you need to go on YouTube and learn how to do something that will help you improve your skills as far as your systems and what's working for you? And that's what we're doing right now, is assessing. I really suggest that quarterly you take 4 hours or even a whole day and just go somewhere. Go to a cafe and just do this, or set yourself in in your office or in your studio and just sit down and take that time for yourself, because it really does, for me, help me get a sense of where I am. It helps calm some of those voices. And I can say, oh, I thought about that. I really have a handle on where I am in this area. And then, aligning the idea of taking your ideas and your concerns to other people, talking to your coach, talking to other artists, really reach out and say, can I have coffee with you? You're an artist. What are you doing right now? Can I bounce this off you? Having some interaction with other people in Art Business Circle, for instance, saying, what are your goals? These are mine. Let's see if we can talk about this. And what do you think? Can I get some input? That idea. Okay. Then the operator, we talked a little bit about some of the systems, but this idea of essentials. Now, as I move out of the 4 pages for the quarterly review, I'm going to move into, what do we do with all this information we have? Okay, so first you're going to write down your current methods. You're going to give yourself a basic number. You're going to write down what is working and what's not working. And then the last column is sort of like, what do I want to do now? What am I going to start doing? What am I going to stop doing that just isn't working? Or how am I going to modify that thing that's not working into something that will work going forward? Okay, so just briefly, the operator, the idea of, how am I communicating what I'm doing? Am I using Instagram or Facebook? What is my 1-page marketing plan? For me, it's my podcast and my webinars. I have a newsletter, and I post that newsletter, or I post my podcast episode on social. That's it. It's very simple. Now, I also have in one-on-one conversations with people. I also tell people what I do. I meet as many people as possible. I tell them what I do, and I make offers to help them. When shows come up, maybe I'll do I'll apply and have a piece in a show. I try to have a show once a year that's my own work. So these are things that come up, but they can be part of your plan. Then, of course, as I talked about, defining those boundaries. What do you actually sell? What are you going to focus on? What is your calendar tool? I use a paper planner, and I also use my phone. And once a week, I go over everything that's happening in my next 2 weeks, and I set aside an hour a week. I call it the time machine, because I'm creating time for myself. I'm going back in time a little bit. What were my last 2 weeks? And I look at that, was it too much that I planned for myself? So now I'm going to narrow it down and mark some things off my list that I just don't want to deal with, right? So it's all about culling it down to the essential things that I need to do that are really going to move the needle, and then looking forward and putting those things on my calendar. And then sometimes there are these quarterly things you want to deal with, like, okay, if I am selling my work and I have come to this place where I'm going to have a business license, and I'm, going to sell my work, or I need to pay taxes and all of that, then you have to consider those things as well. And, where are you? What tool are you using? How is that working? Do you need to file your taxes once a year, etc.? Do I need to learn how to do that? Do I need to hire a bookkeeper? Or do I need to do it myself and take a bookkeeping class or something like that? And then measuring it again, talking to the professionals about it, going to H&R Block, they will do a free session, right? If you using those free tools as much as you can until you can get a handle on what you need to know and moving to the next stage of your knowledge. All right. And then the last one is the promoter. Again, listening to yourself. What I would like to do now is give you another minute and I'm going to let you choose. You can choose from the operator, or the promoter, and choose one or two areas to say what's working, what is your system, what is your number, what's working, what's not, and what are you going to be doing, stopping, starting, or keeping. Okay, so I will kind of flip back and forth during this minute. I'll give you 30 seconds on the operator to choose one to fill that in, and then I'll move to the promoter. And then we'll talk about this. Okay, so when we come to the end of this process of filling out the current tools, what you're doing currently, giving yourself sort of a number on the scale, and then just listing out briefly what's working, what's not working, then you get to the column that says, what am I going to start doing? What am I going to stop doing? And what am I going to keep doing? That is your to-do list. But this to-do list may be quite overwhelming. So one thing I try to do is think about prioritizing that to-do list with a 1, 2, or 3. Now, I know you didn't go through all of the things, every section of this, but if you did write anything down, what I'd like you to do is go back and see all of those things, put a number beside it. Either is it a 1, it needs to be done this quarter for sure? Is it a 2? It'd be nice if it was done this quarter. Or is it a 3? I can look ahead and do that, but it's okay if it happens next quarter. Okay, so I'm going to give you a minute to do that. Okay. So I'm very fascinated by the concept of what is complexity and what is simplicity in our world all around us, right? Our human form and nature is very complex, but also very simple. And so sometimes we look at something and we think, oh, that's like, there are all these things on this list. It feels very complex. But then when we can simplify it or distill it down, it often can feel much more simple if we just have that viewpoint of out of complexity comes simplicity. So what we've done so far is make it more complex on purpose, right? We've gone through all of our sheets. We've looked at all the details. We've listed out what's working now. We've given ourselves a number. We've said what is working and thought about that process. What's really working for me? Do I like Stripe? Do I like cash? Do I never want to take another check again? I only get paid online. What's working, what's not working? And what am I going to do next? And what am I going to get rid of? So we've made this kind of complex spreadsheet with all these boxes filled in. But then the key is to move through this complex process into a simple process. And what you've done is you've made a few goals and a few things that you're going to keep, let go, and start doing. And that's your list. You've prioritized them as 1, 2, and 3. And then what I have done for myself is create the concept out of the concept of essentialism is create 4 essentials for the quarter. So this is what I call my art process. I like to create processes that are fun and beautiful for myself. And that is, as we talk about, creating an atmosphere in our businesses, I like to have fun and beautiful processes that make me want to do things, that motivate me. So I made this sheet that is sort of a goal sheet and helps me through any project. So I created it sort of like a rainbow, and I call it the arc. So on the left-hand side is the goal or the project itself. In the middle are all the steps to it that make it, in a sense, more complex, but sometimes I have to go through all those steps. And then in the middle, on the right-hand side, I have the process of closing it down, constraining it, and making it more simple again. So this idea of 4 essentials. There's a book called Essentialism by Greg McKeown. I'm going to put his name in the chat so you can spell it, because it's McKeown. And the book is Essentialism. It's a really great little book that I would suggest reading or going to the library and ordering or something. And he talks about this idea of really deciding what is essential in your life. And it's kind of like, the joy of tidying up, right? Does this bring me joy? It's a similar idea. And I use this in my planning and in my quarterly assessment. So he says 3 essentials. I've used 3 essentials, but for the 4 hats, I suggest 4 essentials. And that is sort of one goal in each area. So you see up in the corner of this sheet, 4 essentials. Essential number 1, and that might be in your creator hat area. So in the creator area, what is your one goal that you feel is most important this term? Or one idea? I'm going to show you one of my worksheets, and this is for my podcast. When I came to Carbondale, and I'm working towards my MFA, before I was doing a podcast every week, and now there's no way I can do that. So, but I want to keep up to date. I want to continue the podcast moving. So how am I going to do that? Right? That's one of my essentials is to continue moving on the podcast, even though I can't do it every week. So I just keep it very simple and say, all right, episode 4, I need to write that. Episode 5, I need to write that, and then move it into the middle, then record it, etc. So it helps you kind of keep your goals in an arc and keep moving forward. On the left-hand side, you say for my creator hat, you would put at the top, my essential for my creator hat is protect my space. And on the left-hand side, it would be, create a studio space for myself. And in the middle, your list of to-dos might be rearrange my space, check. Number 2 in that R area might be clean up my space, check. See, those are the details. And then the third, closing that down or constraining it in that area, protecting your space might be start a new body of work, right? So each type of goal, each essential can have steps to it, but it's really one goal of protecting your space. Okay, or in the operator hat, it may be figure out a system to get paid, right? And that's your essential. So I'm going to move. So I've given you 4 sheets, essential number 1, essential number 2 for the operator or the creator, the leader, the operator, and the promoter. So you can have one essential in each area and then kind of break it down as you move through this. Okay, so you may not have printed this out right now, but if you watch this again, I suggest printing it out, printing these PDFs out, and using this process for yourself. It's really nice to hang on the wall to say, okay, I just have 3 essentials or 4 essentials. I'm going to do one major goal this term and this quarter, and that's going to help me get that much further down the road. Okay, so that's sort of my basic quarterly assessment. So next, when you see all of this, sometimes we think about like, well, gosh, this is going to be hard, or I'm afraid of making a mistake, etc. I always go back to Georgia O'Keeffe's quote, I've been absolutely terrified every moment of my life, and I've never let it keep me from doing a single thing I wanted to do. So I want you to just acknowledge that fear, acknowledge that idea that, you may not have total confidence in your moving forward with these things. Just keep going. That's the main thing. And also keep working on building your belief in yourself for the ability to do this, in art in general, to change people's lives, and that others are out there that are like you or that want to see your work, that enjoy your work, and they are out there in and among those 7 billion people on this planet. Okay, here is Descartes. I talked about him in the confidence area, and he says, dubito, cogito, sum. I doubt, therefore I think, therefore I am. And right now he's working on his quarterly review. See, he's created this beautiful studio for himself, and he's going through the 4 hats. I love to think about this. And his little alter ego in the skeleton is watching him. We're always realizing that like we're just making choices every day as we go through our lives. So I hope you enjoy that process and really have fun with it and think about it as you're making progress in your goals and vision of what you want to do in your life. Okay, so if you're coming up with some doubts in your mind and thinking about those doubts or uncertainty, I want you to know that that's normal, and that the idea here and all of building a business is about, or building a career is about practicing those thoughts and practicing those beliefs. Beliefs are just thoughts that you're thinking over and over. So we think about our thoughts about ourselves. These are patterns that we're working on. And I want you to practice thoughts about yourself that will help you move to the next stage. I use this idea of a belief wall. I take the new thoughts that I'm trying to practice, I put up there, I work on them. I have my process, which is create an atmosphere, make decisions, and walk the path. And then, as you can see, last term, I had 3 essentials. This term, I'm going to have 4. And I mark down the essential, I mark down my steps to it, and then I cross them off as I go. I may not get all the way there in 1 quarter, but I've gotten a lot further than I did before. Okay, so that's it for the coaching and for the presentation. Now I would love to open it up to your thoughts, your ideas. Please share what you wrote with your, with your goals on your sheet, and see what we can share with each other. Would anyone like to go? Like to mention what you talked about, what you wrote down, what was insightful for you? Lauren, I know that. Oh, hi, Satya. Lauren, I know you were the one, Lauren, that I was talking about with your newsletter. So can you
Yes.
talk about this process of the newsletter a little bit, and where you are with it, what happened, or what's happening?
Go. Yeah. Do you mean on through 10:30?
Yeah, however you.
That was a joke.
I know.
Yeah, I the short answer is I think I just published my 13th issue. I publish once a month, and
Okay, so I want to point out, a lot of people say, oh, you got to publish once a week, right? You got to do this for like online to get people there. You don't. You can do whatever you want. And if once a month works for you, just do it, right? Once a month is awesome. And, you have to start somewhere. And once a month, now people are so inundated with information. When that once a month comes in, they're like, oh, cool, there it is. I'm not going to delete it. Right. And instead of just like this flow of constant information. So go ahead.
and it's definitely evolved. Once upon a time, I started the newsletter a couple of years ago, and my first post I think was in the range of 2,000 words. I sent that out as a full newsletter and as a blog, and I've since refined the whole process in so many ways. If you subscribe to the newsletter now, it's only 200 words. It's very manageable. It's very bite-sized, and then the last line is a link to the blog post, which is probably 3 times or 4 times as long with much more depth around whatever I bring up. What I've noticed is that it's really rewarding for me. I'm hoping it's got some marketing value. I look forward to it. I'm still working on the audience. I've been thrilled to have people say, "Oh, will you post it here? Or will you go on this format and share it with others?" It's definitely put me out into the community much more than it's kind of forced me to be part of the art community in Tucson more than I would normally have been. I'm inclined to, like the last newsletter, I'm an introvert and I like my studio best of all. Does that about cover it, Shannon? Would you like?
Yeah. No, and that's
Yeah.
great. I just think that, like, so for instance, if you have, a quarterly goal of like the promoter, I'm going to get out there more, but oh my gosh, like I don't want to. I have I watched this video of an artist who said, my dream would be to weld my studio shut from the inside. And I love that. It's so true. But yeah, if we want to engage, if we want to, if part of our mission is to, be a part of a community of artists, or to sell our work, or to, to have people appreciate it, part of our job is to build relationships and to teach people how to appreciate it. right? And
What,
that's some human interaction.
what I got that I didn't expect with the newsletter was that when I started it, it was just simply to connect with a larger audience, find my people. What I found is that as I've been open to what's out there in the community, I've now um, listed myself for the online for the in-person open studio tour that will happen first in November. Now my newsletter is the vehicle for promoting that
Yeah.
event, and I mentioned it in the last newsletter. I'll send out a special newsletter about mid-month to say, hey, remember when I said, boy, I sure hope you can make it,
Yeah.
all of you local folks, and then maybe a last blast even, 2 or 3 days before.
Yeah, and also, it's not just like buy my stuff, come to my thing, it's like that's sometimes how we kind of think like, oh, this is what a newsletter is all about. But no, your newsletter is about the ways you think about art, your ideas about art, your ideas about what it is to be an artist. It's a conversation, it's a dialogue between you and other artists, other people out there. So it's like when you think of that, there's much more of a connection and a feeling of I love this. This is a part of my creative process. So, okay, wonderful. Thank you. Thanks for that, Lauren. Thanks very much. I hope that like is helpful to other people. Satya, anyone else want to talk about what you're going through, what's up right now, that we all might have a little insight about? Satya, oh, by the way, so let me just stop you quickly. Lauren is a collage artist. He does these amazing, funny, interesting collages using all sorts of print materials and then painting as well, and all of that. So like, I want you to tell that before you talk, and I forgot to ask you. So thank you. Any other words on that, Lauren, as far as your work itself? You
I was recently challenged by Shannon to dive deep into ideation, and it's been really, really fruitful to
Oh, good.
get into that part of the Four Hats.
Awesome. Awesome. Cool. And I would love to hear more about that at some point too. And maybe we'll do like a thought salon on just like ideas and how to work that part of the process. I think that'd be great. Okay, Satya is a photographer. She did some of the photographs of me on my website. She also, so she has a business, but she also does this beautiful creative work, which is the same thing, I think. So Satya, just like fill us in. What are you doing? What's up?
Oh gosh, well, I have nothing dramatically inspiring to add, but I figured I would chime in. I just run a ton of income streams, but what did come to me was it's just been a couple years of like, how do I wrangle all of these things into something manageable? And so I'm just thinking of systems and wanting to lay out my systems now after this I earn 90% of my income between like this last quarter, basically. So I'm just coming out like after a roller coaster ride and I'm still on it, but I'm still alive, and I'm realizing that I need to work my systems out for next year even earlier than I thought. Cause once I get into the rest of winter,
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to pick it back up again. So I actually have to keep driving forward now and keep working on those systems so that it just keeps getting easier and easier. And then I have more creative time.
Right. So
Yeah.
every time and that's such an essential thing to note about this process, or about whatever process you use, that
Yeah.
when you're doing an assessment, or when you're doing a review, and you go, okay, my main thing this term or this quarter is going to be fix this system, is like get paid, or have a process of onboarding my clients for photography or whatever it is. And you focus on that and you create a system, and it's a pain you're in the river of misery. right? Because you're like, okay, I have to write 3 emails, and those emails are gonna say, welcome to, you know, Satya Studios, right? And this is what's gonna happen, and this is the email that's gonna tell you what's gonna happen when we meet as my client, etc. So you write those emails and you get them all written, and it's what we call, what did I say? The river of misery, right? In doing it. Okay. So you're in the river of misery and you've done it, but then next year, next quarter, you have it done. And so
Yeah.
then the next time you can say, okay, when I'm assessing my systems, your number may have been 5 and now it's 7, right? And now the priority of that thing goes down from 1, desperation, to
Mm.
create this system, to 3, it's like, okay, I'm going to take a look at that and see how it's working next term. And I think
Mhm.
that's what you just shared with us. It's like, if you can do it. And also, one thing I would suggest is look back over the past year and go, okay, what systems did I create last year? What systems did my past self create that my present and future self are thanking me for now? Right? Last term, I organized my studio and now I have a studio that's clean. Thank you. Past,
I
right?
organized it and then I disorganized it.
Right. But, like just little baby steps and things. And so when you're saying you're working on that, you're creating that, and then that's going to help you in the future, that is a huge part of this whole kind of arc of doing the assessment every once in a while, because my latest mantra, and some people have heard me say this, is success can feel like failure the whole time until you stop and look back and see how far you've come.
Mm.
Right. And it's just the idea of the river of misery. Our brains are like, stop working. What are you doing? Everything's fine. Right? You're sitting there on your couch eating cookies. It's fine. Don't try to do anything. Right? Our brains don't want us to do anything. They want to conserve energy as much as possible. So when you start using new energy and using your brain and changing things, like, our brains freak out. So then you can just say, okay, yes, I know that it's going to feel like failure the whole time because my brain is telling me to stop doing this thing, until you stop and you look back and go, oh, I created this system and now it works. Right? So just, I guess I'm saying that to just tell you, like, you're normal. you're. Okay. Thank you, Satya. Are there any other thoughts about this? And also, like, if you have any tips about, what you've done that you learned, or that you wouldn't do again, or that you are doing that you want to do more of, or anything like that, Satya. You're muted.
Oh, oh gosh. Oh, tips. Oh,
Like, tell
no
me.
smart tips here.
No, but tell me, what, like you said, what your plan is,
Oh,
like, where you are in it, or
oh
your
man.
essentials. Like, do you have any essentials? Like, what's your top thing that you're like, I gotta do this term? And I think you kind of mentioned that, but if you could restate it.
Oh, well, uh-oh. I'm sorry.
It's okay. Okay, I know I put you on the spot. That's like,
No, I just the systems, my essentials would be I kind of had a trouble following what the arc was. I have to
okay. Hmm.
revisit that. But the customer I've been kind of writing that as I go along for one of my projects. And so
Hmm.
that'll get to be tweaked for next year. And I'm just excited that I actually sat down and laid out a calendar for this past month, whether or not it was helpful or not. I know that I can still translate it. And I have an assistant now that I think I'm just going to task her with, like, make my calendar for next year.
Oh my gosh. that's progress, right?
And then make all the emails and just set it all up so that I can just press play
Yeah.
for these things next year. So
Right. And, we all have that dream of having an assistant.
I
But,
know. Well, yeah.
all of that, say it again, all of that river of misery that you went through to get to the point where you were working on having somebody having some help, and the things that you did on your own and the ways that you did it on your own, you learned so much from that when you're doing it with her, like her, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That have that knowledge and that wisdom of having done certain things yourself, and that will inform that process of what you want, what you don't want, what works and what doesn't work too.
Mhm. Mhm.
And working, you're working hard enough to get to the point where you feel like you need that, you're investing in that, and that's worth that investment too.
Yeah.
So
Well, also I realized the only way I'm going to make more money is to work less,
I love that.
because it's like, I think I'm capped for a little while because my industry is kind of taking a financial
Hmm.
plunge, and it's been for a while. And so I'm like, well, the only way that I'm gonna make more money is to have more time. So I'm
Yeah,
trying to create more time.
that's so great. Well, and just one thing about the ARC process, say if you're working on um your customer journey. Okay. So maybe that's your essential, right? Your customer journey.
Mm.
Then, the idea is like the first here is like assess my current customer journey, right? And create a new customer journey. So those are like the basics.
Mhm.
And then going over here would be like actually walk through all the emails, like pretend I'm a customer and walk through what emails do I get from Satya, you know. And then
Mhm.
the next one may be, write 2 more emails or edit the new emails, right? Test
Mhm.
that process or ask for advice, so this should be like 1 or 2 things that have to do with your customer journey, and these are all the little specific little tasks, and it
Mhm.
may add up. And then when you're done with that, the end of it is like implement it, right? Try it out on a new customer,
Mm.
that kind of a thing.
Got it.
Right. For a newsletter, it may be, newsletter, create a newsletter, start my email list, my email address, list. Here it may be write my first blog post, add all my friends and family to my email list, you know, send out my first newsletter connected to, right? So it's like the detail things. And then here at the end of that, it may be look back at my newsletter and my blog and see what worked and see what I'm going to do differently next time. Kind of that kind of arc. Okay. Kelly, you came on screen for a second. Are you going to comment or join us or
Sure. Yeah, I'll just say it.
yeah.
It was really a nice presentation. It's great to see you. And for everyone out there, I'm a musician. I'm a songwriter, singer-songwriter. But I feel it's all, all the things you're talking about, we have to do too. I really loved your the sheet with the rainbow, the one you were just talking about. And me too. I think if we can give things a little beauty, it just makes it so much more easy to even try to start. So I'm going to print some of those out. And wow, that thing you said about what was the thing you said about while you're doing things, we're always failing, or what was that last thing you just said?
Yeah,
but when I look back,
my mantra, or my latest mantra is success
Mhm.
and feel like failure the whole time until you stop and look back and see how far you've come.
Yeah, and that's just even just in a moment. In fact, I now own a home. I mean, you knew me for a long time. And I have a room that we call the art room with my keyboard, and it's so so just even be like, wow, and just you were talking about belief and those things, and you sort of see the big picture of, these things can happen over time.
Yeah.
But I just really appreciate again these different hats because I tend to mostly be in the artist one, the creator area. So yeah, I'm gonna look at all of those. And but I love the idea. And for me, I don't have a ton of pressure right now. I don't have financial pressure right now. So, you know, just to pick something in each of the areas that's not the artistic area, to be working on. For example, social media, which I'm not a huge, you know, I don't love going on there, or I get frustrated by AI. I'm like, oh, but picking something that I could do one thing, you know, each week or each month that would keep me moving forward on that. Because I do have goals with, I'm finishing a song and creating the demo, one a month through March. That's my goal. Because I'm going to be I'm going to get to go to SXSW and be around some people, you know, who are producers and in this, right? So yeah, but that balance and, you know, because for me, it's about getting it out also into the world, just not in my own little
Right.
self. So
That
yeah.
is so great, Kelly. And I just love your music. I love your voice. And, you know, it's a really amazing to see you do that. Just to let you know, my brother lives in Austin.
Whoa.
My nephew is in a band that has played at Austin City Limits,
Wow.
and they're doing really well. He's like this little kid, and now he's like this big guy with a beard and everything. And I think their name is The Past Lives is the name of their.
Okay.
So check them out. And
I
like
will
before
totally
you
check
go, we'll like connect, okay?
Okay.
I would
Okay.
love for you to meet them. They're super nice and
That is so cool. Yeah. So thank you. Thanks for this. I'm glad I got the email about it.
yeah, and I
And-
think that just that simple goal of, you know, writing the songs and then creating a process of getting it out there. What is that going to be? A very simple process of recording it, putting it on social media, you know, putting it, you know, like just finding simple ways to do that, but being a little consistent in doing that. Then you have that record and that content of those things that you can then use later on down the road. Like you can do a wrap up of all of Kelly's songs for the year and put all of them on a page on your website. You know, you can use
that's
these
fun.
things
Yeah.
in 2 different ways.
That's really cool. Yeah. And it was interesting looking at your sheet. Like I've started taking piano/arranging lessons, and that's changed everything because again, it's like having a mentor. It's having,
Mhm.
and I did a class where I learned how to use Logic Pro, so I can record my demos at a decent quality. So it is fun seeing, oh wow, you've been doing a lot of the things that are on those
Yeah.
lists. And yeah, so I love that. Thank you.
Good. That's so great. Thank
Yeah.
you, Kelly. I really appreciate it.
Mhm.
Okay, Judy, what do you think? You want to comment? Judy's in.
Yeah, sure.
Judy's in.
Sure.
Tell us what you.
I liked what Kelly just said and everybody else, and I'm very happy to be here. Like I was talking to Shannon before. One of my main goals is to meet people because I do live in a remote area. I live in James Bay, northern Quebec, and not very many chances to expose my art. But what I do is I do beautiful paintings and photography, and I just did an installation too that I had an exhibition um, and the theme is climate change,
Tell us about
and
your.
based on the northern landscapes that are here. So basically, what I would like to do, I don't know how to make a newsletter, and I don't know how to get it out there, and I can send it to my family and friends. I guess I don't have that many people to send it to, but I would just maybe have to go. Shannon said that maybe it'd be a good idea to do some tutorials on YouTube and to learn these things, these skills. Even though I was a teacher before in school, and I taught art and English and all that. I was never really great oh, and I do have a blog. I'll put it in the chat, and I have a website, but not getting much traction that way online with my art to sell it. And the only way I've really sold my art was in local little exhibitions here and there, but
Yeah,
I haven't sold it online.
Okay.
Yeah.
Judy, tell us about your tree and how you made the tree. It's
Oh
just
yeah,
a great story.
you
And then
can go on
then
my
I have some
WordPress too to see a video. I have a video of it. I think it's on. Oh, wait a minute. Did I put it on my WordPress? Maybe not yet. I'll put it on my WordPress. I also have a Patreon too. I'm on everything, nothing works. Okay, so my my installation was this. I originally was going to have a real tree, but then the place where I had the exhibition, they said, "Oh no, it's a fire hazard, and you live up north. We had forest fires. There's no way you're going to have a real tree." So I said, okay. So what can I do? So I said, a recycled tree. I said, but it could still cause a fire. Even my paintings can cause a fire. They're made out of wood. They said, no, that you're allowed. You're allowed to have your paintings. I said, okay, so I'll make a tree out of recyclables. So that's what I did. I took like coat hangers and I took paper bags and I used papier mache and I used green bottles, pop bottles, and I cut them up to make the conifers. And then I had all the people come during the exhibition and I made little cards that were in the shape of leaves. And I asked them to put their thoughts about climate change, how we can find solutions for climate change. And they could draw a picture on one side and they could write their thoughts on the other side. And it was a huge success. For my little community, I only have about 1,000 people living here, and there were like 100 leaves that were created, which is pretty good. So that was a big success, I think, and I want to continue that idea and expand it in a cultural center and make a big installation using recyclables now. I'm into that.
Okay, so can you share with us maybe one thing, one essential, one goal or thing that you would like to do over the next quarter?
Well, like you said about the success thing, which was really, really inspirational. I did a lot this year and I never tap myself on the back for that. I created a nice studio for myself in my house, which is just a bedroom, an empty bedroom, but I made it into a studio. So I had space to work. And then the other thing, well, the thing that I would like to do in the future in the next time is create a newsletter and also try and make connections, maybe make a video and become better at in Instagram, and so become better at promotion and newsletters to be able to create more networking connections.
Yeah, okay, great. And that's just it's sort of a broad goal, but when you do say I have that goal, then your brain starts to work on like, okay, how am I going to do it? I'm, step 1, step 2, and you just start laying things up and doing one baby step at a time.
Yeah, and I think I have to make that a goal because I tend to get so involved that the creator part of me takes over.
Yeah,
Of it, I have so many different creator goals, so I have
right.
to really set aside time just for that.
Exactly. And that's why me too. And that's why I have
Yeah, the
all
arc.
these, put
It's
them on
good.
the wall, and then I know exactly what's my next thing.
Yeah, I really like that. I
So
know
I
I'm
hope
not part of your group, but maybe you could send me that PDF. I would like
yeah,
that.
I put it in the chat, and also I
Oh,
will send it out with the replay.
oh, okay. I'll put
Okay.
my little website on the chat just
All
in
right.
case.
Awesome. Okay,
Okay.
everybody. This has been really lovely to hear all of the things that you're going through and just how different everyone is. I love that there's, photographer, painter, you know, installation artist and painter, collage and music and all of that. So we just take the next step, right? You just do the next thing and just keep moving forward. Um, any last thoughts before I close this out? If you have any questions or thoughts or anything, you can always email me at hello@shannonborg.com and I will post this replay. What I did do is I posted the link on the chat already. It's shannonborg.com/quarterly-review, and you can get those PDFs there right now. And then when I do the replay will also live on that page. Okay, so thank you so much for coming, and I will see you in a few weeks when I do another thought salon. if you have ideas about what you'd like me to do for the Thought Salon, please let me know. Ideation, that would be a good one. I think it would be fun to just see all the different ways that we can ideate and get different ideas from other people as well. So thank you, and I'll talk to you and see you soon. Bye.